Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 7 amazing winter fragrance clones. So let's jump into it. All right, it's that time of year again, and it is friggin' cold here in Canada, and I'm sure for a lot of you out there, it's starting to get a little bit chilly, so it is winter fragrance season, and I got 7 fragrance clones that are going to be perfect for that cold weather. Links are going to be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these fragrances out. Also have some coupon codes, save yourself a few bucks at a variety of different discounters if you decide you want to shop with them. So nice variety, I got a bunch of different brands, a bunch of different scent profiles, hopefully something for everybody. So let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. All right, kicking things off, going to the House of Fragrance World with Fragrance World's French Avenue Fiert. Now, this fragrance is a clone of YSL's Baby Cat, and a pretty darn good one, and probably one of my favorite pickups of the year so far. Beautiful, beautiful spice medley that's in the opening. You get some pink pepper, some black pepper, and this really nice kind of waxy style of elemi that comes through. Just a beautiful spice melody with this nice texture that runs through it. Just absolutely like gentlemanly, sophisticated style of opening to this one. As it opens up a little bit more, you get this nice olibanum that comes through, adds a bit of a resinous, balsamic touch to it, a little hint of some additional saffron spice. Not like a leathery style of saffron, more of a spicy style of saffron that works in really well with that pink pepper, that black pepper. So very spicy profile, a little bit of that texture that comes through, some resinous, balsamic aspects to it with a little hint of some sweetness tucked in behind. But as this opens up and gets towards the dry down, you get this really nice, rich bourbon vanilla that comes through. Little hint of some suede that kind of sits in the background, just adding a little bit of a soft, suedey touch to this, just adding to that kind of gentlemanly profile. And then in the dry down, you get some really nice, rich, deep cedar that comes through, nice woody profile with that bourbon vanilla and those spices to sit on it. And just absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. About 80% of the way to that YSL Baby Cat style of DNA. Just absolutely beautiful, and the performance on this is fantastic. 2-3 hours worth of solid projection, and does last on my skin for about 10 hours before it does really fade into a skin scent, but it does linger quite a bit after that. Get some on your clothing. This is going to last well into the next day. Beautiful pickup, perfect for that cool weather, winter style of season, and definitely worth checking out. That's Fragrance World's French Avenue Fiert. All right, next up, going with a new one from Maison Alhambra, and it's Maison Alhambra's Mysterious Amber. Now, this is more of a twist on the Tom Ford Amber Absolute, maybe borrowing a little bit from the Mysterious Myrrh, but a very unique fragrance that is absolutely perfect for that winter season. Very ambery, incensey wood style of fragrance with a unique kind of sweet profile that goes on to this. So it opens up very amber. You get lots of amber that comes through, adds a kind of a nice warm, fuzzy style of texture to it with this incense that wraps around it, adding kind of a churchy sweetness to it. Little hint of some woods coming through, but it's really about that ambery, incensey sort of vibe that's going on to it. This olibanum that comes through adds this like resinous, balsamic sweet touch to it. So it's not your typical kind of like gourmandy or fruity or even like a candied style of sweetness. Very resinous, balsamic style of sweetness that works really well with those woods. Just kind of like drizzled on top of these woods with that wisp of incense going through and that very ambery texture that comes through. So if you're a fan of ambery style of fragrances that has kind of a smoky wood backbone to it, I think you'll really enjoy this one. As you get towards the dry down, a little poke of some vanilla comes through, just adds a little touch of some sweetness because the woods in this get really deep, really rich, and really dark towards that dry down. So fresh spicy cedar starts coming through and just adds this kind of fresh spicy aspect to it, but with this dark, deep, rich woods with this resinous touch to it. And that vanilla just kind of softens the edges on that ever so slightly. And through, it's just an absolutely beautiful dry down. Very gentlemanly, very sophisticated, but has this kind of unique mystique going on to it that some people are going to really enjoy. Not going to be for everybody, but for those it's for, you're definitely going to like this one. Performance on this, projection is moderate. This isn't like a blast off style of fragrance, but the longevity on this is pretty good. I'm getting about 8 hours worth of longevity off my skin, get some on my clothing, and it lasts a lot longer. So if you're looking for a very unique, ambery, incensey, woody style of fragrance, you definitely want to check this one out. That's Maison Alhambra's Mysterious Amber. All right, next up, going to the House of Atralia, and it's Atralia's equest Gallop. Now, this fragrance is a twist on the Tom Ford Tuscan leather, and beautiful raspberry leather style of fragrance that just gentlemanly, sophisticated, and absolutely perfect for those cool weather days. Opens up with some nice fruity accords, pressurized atomizer. Opens up with some nice kind of aromatic juniper that's there. It has this pomelo fruitiness that's there, but it's really about this kind of leathery saffron, this nice sweet tart raspberry that comes through. Along with that leather, just the saffron accentuates this leather note. So it's really about this raspberry leather accord, but it has those nice aromatics around the edges, that nice little pop of that fruity pomelo in that opening, just to give it a little bit of character, kind of boost that red berry sort of sweetness coming from that raspberry, and just absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, very handsome style of fragrance, like a new designer wallet with this raspberry that's infused into it. Just smells like money. It's just absolutely gorgeous scent profile. As you get towards the dry down, that raspberry leather accord rides from that opening right through the dry down, but you get a little bit more of a woody accord that comes through. Some of those aromatics stick around. It adds a little bit of a freshness to it, but it does get a lot darker and deeper and richer as you get towards the dry down and more of those woods come through. But through and through, this is just a raspberry leather, Tuscan leather style of fragrance, and absolutely gorgeous. Performance on this is decent. I get about an hour and a half of like arm's length projection before it does settle back in, and I'm getting about 6-7 hours worth of longevity off my skin before it fades into a skin scent. But this really does stick to clothing quite well. You can push that out a lot longer if you do that. So through and through, if you're looking for a really nice Tuscan leather, raspberry leather style of fragrance, you definitely want to check this one out. That's Atralia's Equest Gallop. All right, next up, going to the house of Dumont with Dumont's borouj silage. Now, this fragrance is a twist on that angel share DNA, and I know there's a million different angel share clones out there, but I really enjoy how they did this one because the plum and the cognac that come through in this one are really well done, and I really like how this plum comes through. So it's like a plum dipped in cognac, pressurized atomizer. Nice kiss of some cinnamon in there. So this kind of warm, boozy cinnamon mixing in with this nice, fruity, kind of delicate style of plum. Really nice contrast between that kind of fruity sweetness, this warm spiciness that comes through, and that kind of boozy cognac in the top. Just absolutely intoxicating style of opening to this one. You do get a little kiss of some iris that's in the background, adds more of a kind of a florally sweetness than a texture, as some irises will. Doesn't add a whole lot of texture, just kind of adds to that sweet profile, works in really well with that plum. As you get towards the mid and the dry down, more of this myrrh comes through, so it adds a little bit more of this spiciness to it, kind of accentuating that cinnamon, fusing in with that cognac note a little bit more, and just forms a really nice kind of warmth from that myrrh and that cinnamon with that cognac. Just absolutely chef kiss, gorgeous. Like I said, comfy, cozy, intoxicating style of fragrance. And in the dry down, you get a lot more of this kind of dry tonka, a little bit of sandalwood, nice smooth sandalwood that comes through with this drizzle of vanilla, adding some additional sweetness to this. That plum and that cognac sort of ride from that opening pretty much into the dry down, not the entire dry down, but it does stick around for quite a while, and it's just a very beautiful plum note that comes through with that sweetness, and it just works together with all those other accords, making this an absolutely fabulous twist on that angel share DNA. Performance on this is pretty decent. Get a good solid hour and a half worth of projection before it does settle back in, and I'm clocking 6-8 hours off my skin before it really fades into a skin scent. And again, get some on your clothing. This really sticks to the clothing, and you can push that one out. So if you're looking for a good interpretation of that angel share DNA that's really kind of heavy up on that plum, has that kind of cognac booziness with a really great spice profile, you might want to check this one out. That's Dumont's borouj silage. All right, next up, going to the house of Paris Corner, and it's Paris Corner's Emir Campfire. Now, this fragrance is a clone of Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace, and probably my favorite when it comes to that style of DNA. I really enjoy the way that Paris Corner did this one. Great spice profile that comes through in the opening. You get this clove, this pink pepper, this nice chestnut that adds this texture, this nutty aspect to it, and there's this little kiss of this orange blossom adding kind of a sweet florally touch mixing in with those spices. Just absolutely a gorgeous opening to this one. Yeah, it just works. Nice balance of some sugary sweetness with some floral sweetness with a really nice spice profile, and you get a hint of this kind of smoky gaiac wood that's in the base. All works together really well, giving you that kind of warm, comforting, cozy sort of vibe going on to it. As this opens up, more of that gaiac wood comes through. It has that kind of smoky, deep, rich wood thing going on to it. Has this kind of like burnt sugar accord that starts to move in, some vanilla as well. So it adds this nice sweetness to it, but it's like this warm kind of cooked style of sweetness, like almost like a baked good sitting on these smoky woods. And you get this nice balsam that comes through, and a kind of a thick, warm, resiny sweetness to this as well, with a little bit of a balsamic touch to it. So in the end, you're just left with that really nice kind of smoked woods, burnt sugary sweet, a spicy style of fragrance with just that kiss of some balsamic sweetness to kind of add that kind of thickness and that warmth to it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Performance on this is okay. I get about an hour and a half worth of moderate projection before it does settle back in, and it's lasting about 6-7 hours off skin before it really fades into a skin scent. Does stick to clothing fairly well, so get this on your clothing. You can push that out a little bit longer, but if you're gonna wear this for a full day, you're probably gonna have to reapply this one because it's not the best performer, kind of sits in the average territory, but it is an above average scent profile. Absolutely love this. Perfect for the winter time and definitely worth checking out. That's Paris Corner's Emir Campfire. All right, up next, going to the House of Lattafa with one of their new releases, and it's Lattafa Pride's Art of Nature 1. Now, this fragrance is a clone twist of the Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja, and just did a full review on this one, and this one caught me by surprise how much I absolutely love this fragrance. Just didn't anticipate that I would based on the note breakdown, and I'm not a huge fan of the Oud Maracuja, but the way they did this one just absolutely works for me. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Opens with a kind of a nice, fruity, sweet style of opening, has some plum, some black currant, some fig. Get a little hit of this rose that comes through and this rhubarb, so this like fresh, spicy, green, snappy rhubarb that comes through, adding a nice spice to it. And this soft, kind of almost jammy style of rose that really works in well with that plum, as well as that fig note. It's more about this plum note, a little touch of that black currant and fig, but that plum is what I'm getting the most. And again, with that kind of fresh, spicy rhubarb that comes through, adding some character to it, and that rosy touch to it, just adding some additional sweetness, nice texture to it with that kind of soft edge to it. Beautiful opening on this. There is a point in this from like the 3-minute mark to the 15-minute mark where that rhubarb on my skin really kind of comes forward, and it was almost a little off-putting, but about that 15-minute mark when it does settle back in, this just becomes absolutely gorgeous. As this opens up, you do get a little bit more of this leather that comes through, a little kiss of some sweet kind of woody oud that moves its way in. Not an overly oud-centric fragrance, and it's not heavy on the leather, just a nice balance between those two. The oud kind of adds kind of a depth and a darkness to that leather, but the fruit balance with that fresh, spicy rhubarb just kind of contrasts off against it really nicely, so it becomes kind of a soft, sophisticated, almost elegant style of fragrance. Absolutely gorgeous, and that's where the magic is on the dry down. It's just a really nice balance of that kind of rosy leather, touch of that oud with that fresh spicy rhubarb and some of those fruity accords sitting on top of it, just all balanced off to make this just beautiful medley of this just very unique artistic style of fragrance that I absolutely love and is perfect for the winter time. And the performance on this is fantastic. I get solid 2-3 hours worth of projection on this, well beyond an arm's length before it does settle back in, and I'm getting about 8 to 10 hours off my skin. No problem, get some on your clothing. This lasts well into the next day. So great performance on this, beautiful dry down on this one, and perfect for that winter season, and definitely worth checking out. That's Lattafa Pride's Art of Nature 1. All right, last, but certainly not least, going back to the House of Dumont with Dumont's Bravanzo Baron. Now, this fragrance is kind of a twist clone fragrance of Parfums de Marly's Carlisle, and it has a little hint of that Mancera red tobacco going on to it, but what winter fragrance list wouldn't be complete with a beautiful tobacco style of fragrance? And that is what this is. Opens up with a nice medley of some sweet notes and some spicy accords. You get some cardamom, some osmanthus, some nice tobacco that comes through. Really beautiful kind of balance between those accords. So it has this kind of like nice fruity apricot style of like green floral osmanthus that comes through, mixing in with some cardamom, and then you get that tobacco note that has that kind of that earthy, dry tobacco sort of vibe going on to it, like a pipe tobacco sort of vibe going on to this one, mixing in with that kind of aromatic, sweet, spicy cardamom and that nice fruity touch from that osmanthus that comes through. Really a beautiful opening on this one. A little bit sweeter than the Carlisle in my opinion, but it really will remind you of that, and it does kind of have that hint of that red tobacco sort of vibe in the opening as well. As this opens up, you get a lot of this kind of like sharp cypriol that comes through, adds this kind of resinous, fresh, spicy aspect to it. A little wisp of some incense that come through, and you get a nice woody base that starts to form for some of that sweet spiciness to sit on. So that tobacco rides its way through and sits on this kind of nice, kind of resinous, ambery, sweet, vanilla sort of woody base with that tobacco coming through. And in the dry down, absolutely a gorgeous tobacco style of fragrance that just warm, cozy, inviting, has this kind of masculine boldness to it, but also this kind of flirty fun side to it as well. That's just perfect for that winter season. And the performance on this is absolutely beastly. 2-3 hours worth of really solid projection, and this is 10+ hours off my skin. Get some on your clothing, you're gonna have to wash that shirt because it's gonna stick to that shirt for quite a while. So really great performance on this one. Certified beast mode and definitely worth checking out. That's Dumont's Bravanzo Baron. All right, so there you have it. That's 7 amazing winter fragrance clones that I think you guys should know about, but I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite winter fragrance clones? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, different tastes and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. and we'll see you all next time.